Okay, welcome back once again. Uh, this is just going to be a follow-on to my last video about the X1 Extreme and really to just extend the life of your X1 Extreme. If you saw that last video, you saw I had a couple of recommendations for free mods as well as upgrades that weren't too expensive that can actually extend the life of this laptop. If you haven't done so already, maybe you should try those first prior to replacing it, if you're running into some issues that can be resolved that way. I get it. Some people just like to have new stuff, so maybe they're like, I'm going to replace it regardless, or I want to have the latest and greatest or something like that. So that's probably not going to work for you. But for everybody else that may not fall into that pool, you want to keep it for as long as you possibly can before moving on to the next one like me, then definitely check that video out. And this is going to be the follow-on to that because one of the reasons why, I'd even considered replacing this laptop was for gaming performance. Because what I found for my video performance and my photography, this is more than sufficient. I actually changed programs. I was using Resolve, and Resolve requires some heavy lifting on the CPU and the GPU. And I noticed that when I was actually trying to not really render, I would say when I was actually just previewing, good Lord, in the timeline in 4K, it would stutter and struggle, and certain other things would just take forever. Didn't really like that. I actually switched from that software to PowerDirector 365, and I've been pretty happy. I've used PowerDirector before. I've actually used Adobe before. I had Adobe before I was even using Resolve, and yeah, it was just okay to me. I actually really liked DaVinci. I love the idea that it was free, but once again, it required the heavy lifting. So yeah, I went to PowerDirector. Haven't had any problems, so I solved that. On my photo editing side, I don't do as much photography as I used to, and I'm not doing as much for people. So what I ended up doing is I realized I didn't really need, the Adobe suite. I didn't need all the little things I used to use. So I actually switched to Luminaire, and this runs all day fine. So I'm really digging that. I love the idea that I bought the program and I don't have to pay anything else for it. I'm not paying for a subscription, unlike Adobe and actually even PowerDirector. So since my photography editing or my photo editing and my video editing is not an issue on the system, then I had to jump to gaming. And gaming was where, things got a little bit dicey because once again, these games come out nowadays and they're optimized not necessarily for this older GPU, but when they're designing them, they're not necessarily taking it into consideration. So then now if I download that, I have to do some tweaking like you saw in my last video to try to make it work and run smoothly so I can enjoy the experience, which sucks because guess what? I'm still paying the same price for the game as everybody else. The person that could just put it on and play it and it does well, I have to do extra things and my performance is still not going to be that great. Granted, that is the downside of being a PC gamer. Every time you buy a game, it's not like console where you maybe can just play it. And I get it. Certain games are optimized for certain consoles too, but it's nothing like on PC. But so I started looking at that, and I was like, well, man, I still want to be able to play, newer games and and enjoy that experience, even though I don't game a whole heck of a lot. Like I said in the previous video, I usually play about 1 or 2 games at a time, and that's it. When I get tired of those, I beat them or whatever. If they're multiplayer, eventually, I just lose interest, and then I move on to the next thing. I only spend so much time gaming because I do other stuff. So I started looking at possibly building a PC gaming system just because I like that stuff. I've helped people before build gaming rigs, understand exactly how that works. And I also like the idea that I can have a much more powerful system because, yeah, sky's the limit for the most part with those. Well, really, your budget is the limit. But when I started looking, the first thing I started with was with the GPU. And the main reason I did that was because the last person I helped build a system, I mean, he was having a lot of problems with components in general because, during COVID and all of that and prior to COVID, like the market was just terrible. And it still is terrible. I mean, there are, and I'll jump over here to the screen recorder, there are cards that frankly, you know, I'd have a hard time paying as much for some of these cards as they're asking. You know, you look at the RTX 380, and this is just I'm just pulling up Amazon to make it easy for now. But like yeah, like for instance, you know, 2 grand, and this is just for the GPU. You know, granted, this might be a better deal down here. You can get a Ryzen 9, and then you can just if you don't have a PC already, you got some of the extra parts. But you know, I started looking at this and I'm like, okay. And then of course I looked at your 3090, which is even more insane. Um, so I considered, man, let me just jump back and just look at some of the older cards, you know, because they can perform and do the things that I need them to do. I know how to set this up, so I don't think I would have any problems. Now, keep in mind the gaming that I'm going to be doing is going to be on a 2K screen, which is what I actually have here. I'm not necessarily worried about 4K gaming, but I know down the line I would like to do 4K gaming. You know, 4K 60 would be cool, would be awesome. But I would be happy with 2K, good Lord, um, 2K or 1440 at 120 FPS. So, you know, I started looking at other cards just to see, you know, what else is out there. And then I jumped over to like our GTX 2070 just to kind of see what the prices are as a start. And man, they still are kind of pricey. Um, so then I was like, well, what are my other options? And the first option that came up was console gaming. I haven't console gamed in a long, long, long time. I don't even remember my last console. It was definitely a PlayStation, and I actually think I just recycled it. But I think it was maybe a PSP or something. But I never really was that type of gamer anyway. And then I thought, well, let me start looking at some of these other systems. So I looked at the new PlayStation 5, and then I also looked at the 2 new Xboxes. Now, when I went into this, I didn't realize that they were having the same problems that we were having here on the PC side with GPUs, chips, and all that thing. So I thought, hey, I could just walk into a store and pick up whatever I want. And then I found out that wasn't the case. Matter of fact, it's probably even worse now because this is like right after Black Friday and the holidays have started and yada, yada, yada. So yeah, I tried that. I tried to go in there and like, hey man, you got some stuff coming in, blah, 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 blah. And I think they were probably just tired of hearing people like me for the past however many years. So, you know, yeah, a little slow, but needless to say, I got it. You guys are having the same issues that we're really having to, or were having, well, we still are, with you know, trying to build a gaming rig. But some things did change, and I found that there were certain consoles that were going to be available or that are available now. I was dead set on getting after I started comparing everything, I was like, okay, maybe the Xbox X Series makes, and I mean X as in X-ray, not S as in Sierra, makes more sense for me because the place that I was going to put it, it's a 55-inch 4K screen, and it doesn't have a DVD player down there yet. And I was going to buy a UHD DVD player, but I'm like, hey, this has it built into it. Makes my life a lot easier. Could not find one of those. And I tried. I paid for some subscription services. Actually, I did the Walmart Plus thing. I'm already Amazon Prime. You know, and I was looking at, you know, all these trackers and bots and all these things just to try to see if I could get one. Wasn't happening. But then, like I said, the S came available. So I started looking at that console, and I actually have a window here pulled up. I'll kind of show you what I'm actually looking at, or what I was actually looking at. And basically, these are the tech specs for the Series S. And what really attracted me to this system was down here because once again, like I said, initially when I set out, before I started looking at consoles, I was looking at doing 2K gaming on a 1440 screen, and this can actually do that up to 120. And I'm like, huh. So then I jumped up to the processor and I started looking at it. I'm like, and I know y'all that gaming or console, well, the folks that makes these, they use teraflop, whatever. I gigahertz, you know, I look at the gigahertz, I look at the systems, the core, and I was like, man, this is a pretty decent performer. And then, you know, I look at the memory, the fact that it has DDR6, and, you know, 10 gigabytes of that. And I was like, okay. So at first I was like, well, I don't know if that's going to be enough. But once again, I started thinking on my laptop and I'm like, okay, this is more than enough for all the stuff that I need. I'm only worrying about gaming. This might work. And then there was the price, $299. So when it became available, I, of course, went and picked one up. The actual system is actually hooked up to the 4K screen downstairs, and that was just really just a test for me. I think I'm actually probably going to leave this system down there, and then of course add the Blu-ray uh, later on down the road, just so I can watch movies and stuff. But what I really like about the S series, and I know it's kind of like a detraction for some people, was the Game Pass, because I didn't know anything about that, to be honest with you. And then when I found out about it, I'm like, oh wow, if I build a PC, I could use this on PC too, and yada yada yada. But then when I started to realize that I don't actually have physical games anymore, the X series to me wasn't worth the wait just to be able to watch the random Redbox movie I might get, because I don't really buy DVDs either. So I figured I'd pick this up for $200 less. And like I said, $299, it's hard to beat. But this device at 299 bucks extends the life of this device, which is the X1 Extreme, which to me makes sense. I don't have to jump right now just because I want to play games on my laptop. I can just do that. Now, I get it. It's not going to be as portable, although they do have like a little screen that you can actually put the S series into, and you could take it places and plug it up and play. So it's like a gigantic laptop, but it still is portable. Plus, this gaming console is tiny. Like, I didn't realize how small it was going to be. Frankly, I don't think the other one, the X series, was that large when I actually saw the model in the store. And I mean the actual, not working display model. But I saw them side by side, and I didn't realize how small the X series is compared to the X series. But very tiny devices. Here's the other thing too. When I was looking at the specs, the thing that caught my eye was, first off, it comes with an NVMe drive, which love those. Um, Expandable storage. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Seagate expansion card because the price is kind of ridiculous to me. It's proprietary for the slot that's on the back. And I know there's been some folks trying to work on how to fix it. I'm waiting on that because, frankly, I'd just rather do an adapter, flash my own drive, and make it work. So as soon as somebody figures that out, I'm probably just going to do it as long as it's cost effective. And I have seen where there have been some folks that have kind of done it. Like, I watched the videos, but it's not very clear. But then what they did, it seems like the price is like too close to what the expansion card is. So it's almost like, well, I don't want to do mods and then just save a couple of bucks just to be close to that. I want to be way away. Like, I want to there would be a significant price difference to be worth the effort. Otherwise, I'll just get the Seagate. But what I can tell you is, since I've downloaded games, I think I've got about 12 or 14 games, and I still have space. Now, there are some games that are going to be larger. Like, I know Halo is coming out. I think I've downloaded like whatever the pre-installed thing is. I don't know how big that's going to be, or if you decide that you want to download like Gears 5 or Ark, those games are over 100 gigs. So yeah, you're not going to feed a lot of those games. But the games that I play, the games that I've tried, uh, I really haven't had a problem with space. So I don't even see upgrading the storage anytime soon because of that, which was amazing to me. Like, I'm like, wow, because it's like, well, and I think I discussed this previously. I was running out of space on my X1 anyway, and I was downloading a game or games, and then it's like, well, over here I've got way more games. Now, I'm not going to do video editing on my Xbox. I'm not going to do a lot of the stuff I do on my laptop because it is solely for gaming, but I'm okay with that. I don't take my laptop anywhere to game on it. I take it to other places to do work on it. Gaming is something I strictly just do at the house anyway. So if I was looking for a portable rig, maybe I would probably just have a gaming laptop anyway. But then, like I said, they have that add-on feature for the Xbox S series that you can actually take it to different places. Um, yeah, so then, like I said, the video capabilities for 299 bucks. In case you forgot, look at these graphics cards and look at the price. All right. So a fraction of the price of a GPU. And this isn't even a GPU I would want. So I'm looking more 3080, maybe 3090 when they start to come down a little bit. But I mean, 299 is a fraction of this, and it has everything for gaming. You just do it. Plus, there's the benefit of Game Pass. And if you're not familiar with Game Pass, because I wasn't, because I'm not a gamer, I was pretty blown away by that. You know, the idea that I had access to this entire library of games. And I've got a family member, he's an Xbox gamer. I called him, he was excited. And he starts telling me all about it. And I've kind of been lost in the sauce, just figuring things out, you know, just trying to see what was all there for me. Some of the games that I've been playing, I would have never played in a million years. Just, I wouldn't even have downloaded them as a trial. Like, that's just not my thing. But what I like, for instance, the other day, I'm playing like Hellblade. I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't know if it was available on PC or not, but once again, not my type of game. But when I started playing, I'm like, man, this is cool. And then on top of that, it's being upscaled to 4K on my television downstairs. And the graphics are really impressive. So, you know, I don't really see a downside to that unless someone else does. But that's just kind of my take. And I think that's just an interesting way to maybe extend the life of your laptop. You know, if you're dealing with something that's more or less like an ultra portable, it has powerful components, but it has limitations because it's an ultra portable. And you don't necessarily want to jump into that next thing. Something to consider, you know. If you have any questions, feel free, leave them down below. Click like, subscribe, and Agent Fitz signing out.